Have you ever felt guilty for simply existing, for asking for what you need, for taking up too much space in a conversation, for being too loud, too emotional, too honest, too you? It's strange, isn't it, how we live in a world that constantly tells us to stand out, but punishes us the moment we actually do. You shrink yourself in subtle ways, apologizing before speaking, saying it's fine when it isn't, laughing off disrespect just to keep the peace. You swallow your opinions, dim your light, and silence your truth. Not because you want to, but because you've been taught that your existence must be justified, that your needs are negotiable, and your voice optional. We learn it early, when we're praised for being well-behaved, quiet, obedient, undemanding. We absorb a dangerous message, that love is conditional, that we're worthy only when we're easy to handle, that existing without guilt is a privilege we must earn, and so we start carrying a kind of invisible weight, a guilt that doesn't belong to us, the guilt of simply being here. But what if I told you that this guilt, this subtle self-erasure, is not humility, not kindness, not maturity, but a quiet form of self-abandonment? Because taking up space, emotionally, intellectually, spiritually, isn't arrogance. It's honesty. It's saying, I am here. I exist. My needs matter. My voice deserves to echo just as much as anyone else's. This video is about reclaiming that right. It's about learning to take up space, without guilt, without apology, without shrinking your soul to fit into someone else's comfort. But to do that, we first have to understand why we feel guilty for existing in the first place, and how that guilt subtly shapes the way we love, work, and see ourselves. We like to think of guilt as something moral, a sign that we've done something wrong. But not all guilt is rational. Some guilt is learned, inherited, conditioned. And one of the most common and most destructive forms of guilt is the guilt of being too much. From a young age, many of us are praised for disappearing. We're rewarded for being the quiet kid, the agreeable friend, the peacemaker in every argument. We learn that being loved means being low maintenance. We internalize it so deeply that even as adults, we apologize for things that don't need apologies, for being tired, for needing help, for having boundaries, for taking up space in someone's emotional field. This guilt becomes a kind of emotional reflex, a subtle, constant self-editing. And over time, it manifests everywhere. 1. In relationships, you hesitate to express your needs because you don't want to be a burden. You suppress your disappointment when someone hurts you because you fear they'll leave. You convince yourself that being understanding is noble, but deep down, you're starving for the same understanding you so freely give to others. You say, it's okay, don't worry about it, when it's not okay. You say, I'm fine, when you're quietly falling apart. You say, I just want everyone to be happy, when the truth is, you've forgotten what your own happiness even looks like. 2. At work, you stay quiet in meetings, even when you have something valuable to add. You hesitate to take credit for your ideas. You say yes to extra work to avoid being seen as lazy. You minimize your achievements so others won't feel threatened. You confuse meekness for modesty, and slowly your professional identity becomes defined by compliance rather than contribution. And yet, the irony is, the more you shrink, the more invisible you become, and the more the world confirms your worst fear, that you don't matter. 3. In friendships, you downplay your success so you don't make others uncomfortable. You listen for hours but struggle to talk about yourself. You fear that if you stop being the listener, you'll stop being loved. You keep giving until you're empty, and then you feel guilty for feeling empty. It's a cruel cycle. The more you give, the more others take, and the less space you allow yourself to occupy, emotionally, mentally, physically. 4. In your inner world. This guilt doesn't just show up in behavior, it seeps into how you think. You start editing your desires, your opinions, your emotions before they even form. You tell yourself, I shouldn't feel this way, or it's not a big deal, or other people have it worse. You slowly become a ghost in your own life, observing, adjusting, accommodating, while your true self waits quietly in the background, asking, when will it be my turn to exist fully? Philosophers have wrestled with this for centuries, the tension between selfhood and acceptance. Friedrich Nietzsche warned of the herd morality, a collective mindset that rewards obedience and conformity over individuality and truth. In Thus Spoke Zarathustra, he wrote about the last man, the person who seeks only comfort, approval, and safety, but at the cost of greatness, passion, and authenticity. The last man never takes up space. He survives, but he never truly lives. When you feel guilty for being yourself, you become that last man. You trade freedom for belonging, self-expression for silence. Carl Jung describes something similar through the concept of the persona, the mask we wear to be accepted by society. The more we identify with this mask, the more disconnected we become from our authentic self. Our self with a capital S, which Jung saw as the totality of who we are. We learn to perform humility, but it's not real humility. It's self-denial disguised as virtue. And then there's Simone de Beauvoir, who spoke about how society conditions certain people, especially women, to live for others, defining themselves not through their own essence, but through how they are perceived. The guilt of taking up space becomes a survival strategy. We fear rejection more than we crave authenticity. This isn't just personal, it's cultural. We live in a society that praises humility, but often in distorted ways. Stay humble becomes code for don't outshine anyone. Be kind becomes suppress your boundaries. Be easygoing becomes tolerate disrespect. Don't be selfish becomes don't have needs. We're told to be small in 1,000 subtle ways, especially if our presence disrupts someone's comfort or if our truth challenges the social script. And so, guilt becomes the leash that keeps us from expanding. But here's the paradox. The world often celebrates people after they've stopped apologizing for existing. We admire confidence, individuality, and assertiveness. But we rarely examine how much unlearning it takes to get there. When you chronically suppress your voice, your body keeps the score. You may start feeling drained, anxious, or numb. You overthink every interaction, wondering if you came off too strong. You apologize reflexively, even when you've done nothing wrong. This kind of guilt rewires your nervous system. You live in a constant low-level fear of disapproval, a quiet anxiety that says, if I take up too much space, I'll lose love. It's not just emotional, it's existential. Because deep down, this guilt touches the most primal human fear, the fear of being rejected for who you truly are. So here's the question. When did you first learn to feel guilty for existing? Was it when someone told you that your emotions were too much? When you were punished for speaking up? When your silence was praised as maturity? Think about it. That's when you began internalizing the belief that your presence is something that must be managed, controlled, softened. But here's the truth, one that philosophy, psychology, and spirituality all point toward. You are not a burden. You are not too much. And you were never meant to shrink yourself to fit into someone else's comfort. Taking up space, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, is not selfishness. It's your birthright. And the world doesn't need more people who know how to disappear. It needs people who are fully, unapologetically here. There's a moment, often quiet, often invisible, when you realize that the person you've become isn't fully you. You've been kind, patient, accommodating, understanding, all the things the world praises. And yet, something inside you feels empty. That emptiness is the cost of staying small. You start to notice it in subtle ways. In the sigh you let out before saying yes when you wanted to say no. In the pit in your stomach when you stay silent during a conversation that matters to you. In the quiet resentment that grows each time you put everyone else's comfort above your own truth. You tell yourself it's not a big deal, but over time it becomes everything. Because every time you shrink, you send yourself the message, my existence is negotiable. And when you send that message long enough, it becomes your reality. The illusion of peace. There's a kind of peace that isn't real peace. It's just the absence of conflict. You maintain harmony on the surface while waging a quiet war inside yourself. You smile while suppressing irritation. You agree while disagreeing internally. You give and give and give and call it love until you realize it's self-erasure in disguise. But here's the paradox. The more you avoid taking up space, the more the world takes advantage of your silence. People rarely notice what you're sacrificing when your suffering looks like kindness. Carl Jung warned of this when he said, "The most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely. Because the moment you do, you must confront all the ways you've lived half a life, all the times you mistook silence for wisdom, guilt for goodness, and compliance for love. The emotional cost. When you suppress your true self, your emotions don't disappear. They just go underground. That's where they become resentment, fatigue, or self-loathing." The psychologist Harriet Lerner once wrote, "Anger is a signal. It tells us that something within us is demanding recognition. But when we've been conditioned to see anger as bad, we repress it. And in doing so, we repress our power. That's why people who never take up space often feel perpetually tired. It's not physical exhaustion. It's emotional suffocation. You're spending energy maintaining an image that pleases others but betrays your truth. Every "it's fine" when it isn't, every forced smile, every moment of holding yourself back, it costs you something. The existential cost. Existentialist philosophers like Jean-Paul Sartre and Søren Kierkegaard both spoke of what happens when a person refuses to live authentically. Sartre called it bad faith, the act of deceiving yourself, pretending you have no choice, that you must live according to someone else's expectations. Kierkegaard called it despair, not the dramatic weeping kind, but the quiet despair of never becoming yourself. When you live in bad faith, you hand over your freedom. You start existing as a reflection of others, the good employee, the nice friend, the perfect partner. But inside, your soul whispers, "This isn't me." The tragedy is that most people never listen to that whisper. They confuse survival for purpose, obedience for peace, and conformity for love. But here's the truth that philosophy has been trying to tell us for centuries. The price of fitting in is often the loss of your essence. And if you have to lose yourself to be accepted, what kind of acceptance is that, really? When silence becomes self-betrayal. There's a difference between being quiet and being silenced, between being humble and being erased, between peace and submission. True humility doesn't mean making yourself small. It means being grounded in who you are without needing to prove it. But many of us mistake invisibility for humility. We think if we disappear a little, maybe we'll be loved more. But love that depends on your disappearance isn't love, it's control. Nietzsche wrote that most people prefer comfort to freedom. Because freedom, real freedom, comes with the unbearable responsibility of being seen. When you take up space, you expose yourself to judgment, misunderstanding, and rejection. But you also open the door to something much deeper. Authentic connection. You cannot be loved for who you are if you never show who you are. The body keeps the score. Even your body reacts to chronic self-suppression. The shallow breath, the clenched jaw, the tight chest every time you hold back your truth. Your nervous system begins to associate visibility with danger. You might notice you physically shrink, slouched posture, avoiding eye contact, soft voice, as if trying to minimize your existence. That's not shyness, that's survival. But survival is not the same as living. To heal, you must begin to unlearn this body language of guilt. To stand tall not as defiance, but as self-recognition. Because taking up space is not a threat. It's a declaration. I am safe to exist. Healing the guilt of existence isn't about suddenly becoming loud or dominant. It's about remembering that your presence has a right to exist. Fully, quietly, authentically. Taking up space isn't arrogance. It's alignment. It's not about shouting. It's about not whispering your truth when it deserves to be spoken. Let's explore how we can begin to reclaim that space, practically, emotionally, and philosophically. 1. Recognize your conditioning. You can't change what you don't see. Begin by tracing your guilt back to its roots. Who taught you to apologize for your needs? When did you learn that peace meant silence? Whose comfort have you been protecting by staying small? This isn't about blame, it's about awareness. As Jung said, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. You have to see how deeply the world has conditioned you to associate visibility with shame. Once you see that clearly, the guilt starts losing its power. 2. Redefine guilt. Here's something few people realize. Guilt is not always moral. Sometimes it's just your nervous system's way of signaling that you're doing something new. When you start speaking up, saying no, or taking up space, guilt will appear. Not because you're wrong, but because you're breaking a pattern. Growth feels like guilt because your subconscious is wired for familiarity, not freedom. The goal isn't to eliminate guilt. It's to reinterpret it. Instead of asking, did I do something wrong? Ask, am I simply doing something different? This reframing transforms guilt from a stop sign into a compass. 3. Practice micro-assertions. You don't need to overhaul your personality overnight. Start small. Speak your opinion in a group conversation without apologizing. Let a moment of silence hang after you say no. Correct someone gently when they misrepresent you. Take time for yourself without over-explaining why. These small acts are like emotional weight training. Each one strengthens your capacity to exist without guilt. You're not being selfish. You're learning to coexist with your truth. 4. Reconnect with your body. Taking up space begins with your physical presence. Notice your posture, your breath, your tone. When you catch yourself shrinking, crossing your arms, lowering your voice, minimizing your gestures, pause. Then do the opposite. Straighten your spine. Breathe deeply. Let your body remember what expansion feels like. You don't need to dominate a room to belong in it. You just need to inhabit your body fully. When you occupy your physical space with calm self-assurance, your mind slowly follows. 5. Integrate your shadow. In Jungian psychology, the shadow is everything we repress, including our assertiveness, ambition, and self-worth. Many people see these qualities as dangerous because in their childhood, they were punished for expressing them. To heal, you must invite your shadow to the surface. Ask yourself, what parts of me have I exiled because they made others uncomfortable? Maybe it's your confidence, maybe it's your anger, maybe it's your creativity or sensuality. Whatever it is, it's not your enemy. It's your unlived life waiting to be expressed. Integrating your shadow doesn't mean acting out. It means befriending your power. When you make peace with the fullness of who you are, you no longer need others' permission to exist. 6. Replace apologies with gratitude. We often apologize when we mean to express gratitude. Instead of saying, "Sorry for taking your time," say, "Thank you for giving me your time." Instead of, "Sorry I'm late," say, "Thank you for waiting." This simple linguistic shift changes your internal dialogue from guilt to worthiness. It reminds you that your presence is not a disturbance, it's an exchange. 7. Build emotional boundaries. You are not responsible for managing other people's emotions about your truth. When you say no, some will be disappointed. That's okay. When you express your needs, some will resist. That's okay too. Your role is not to protect others from discomfort. Your role is to live honestly within your own integrity. As the Stoic philosopher Epictetus said, what upsets people is not things themselves, but their opinions about things. You cannot control others' opinions, but you can control your authenticity. 8. Practice. Being seen. Many people who struggle to take up space have one thing in common. They've learned to avoid visibility. So start practicing the art of being seen, even when it feels uncomfortable. Share your work. Speak your truth in a conversation. Show your face without filters or masks. Let people witness you, imperfect, evolving, real. The discomfort of being seen is the birthplace of authenticity, and authenticity over time becomes your peace. 9. Redefine what it means to take up space. Taking up space isn't about dominance, it's about presence. It's about allowing your full self, your ideas, emotions, and boundaries to exist without apology. It means being okay with someone not liking you. It means letting go of control over how others perceive you. It means trusting that your worth doesn't shrink when someone disapproves. When you take up space, you silently invite others to do the same. Your courage becomes contagious. Your presence becomes permission. And that is how we begin to change the collective story, one unapologetic act of self-expression at a time. What if taking up space isn't just an act of confidence, but an act of moral courage? What if your refusal to shrink, your choice to be authentic, is not about ego, but about truth? The Nietzschean view, becoming who you are. Friedrich Nietzsche once said, "Become who you are." But most people misunderstand what he meant. He wasn't telling us to find ourselves. He was challenging us to create ourselves, to shape our existence into art, to express our unique essence in a world that constantly demands conformity. To Nietzsche, the highest act of morality was self-overcoming, the courage to rise above guilt, conditioning, and fear, and to live from one's authentic nature. And he believed the greatest tragedy wasn't suffering, but mediocrity, living safely within the boundaries others drew for you. When you take up space, you embody this Nietzschean spirit. You say to the world, I refuse to be the product of someone else's comfort. I will not shrink to fit the cage you built for my spirit. Taking up space then becomes an act of rebellion, not against others, but against your own smallness. The Jungian view, individuation as expansion. Carl Jung saw the journey of life as the process of individuation, becoming whole by integrating all the parts of the psyche we've rejected. He believed that every time we deny a piece of ourselves, we exile a part of our soul. To individuate, you must bring those pieces home. That means reclaiming your assertiveness, your anger, your desires, your power, the very qualities you were taught to suppress. The world tells you to stay polite, agreeable, inoffensive, but your soul doesn't want polite. It wants truth. It wants expansion. As Jung wrote, the privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. And you cannot become who you truly are while apologizing for existing. So when you take up space, emotionally, intellectually, spiritually, you're not being selfish. You're fulfilling your soul's deepest mandate, to become whole. The Stoic view, duty to nature. The Stoics, too, understood this from a different angle. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "What does not benefit the hive does not benefit the bee." He didn't mean that you should erase yourself for the collective. He meant that your individual flourishing contributes to the whole. A world full of people who shrink is a world deprived of vitality, truth, and originality. When you take up space, you bring your authentic nature into the shared fabric of existence, and in doing so, you strengthen it. The Stoics believed living according to nature meant expressing your rational, creative, and moral potential without excess or suppression. To suppress yourself out of guilt is no less unnatural than to indulge your ego out of vanity. Balance lies in expression, not absence. So taking up space isn't selfish. It's your way of honoring nature itself, the divine order that made you distinct for a reason. Taking up space as love. Maybe we've misunderstood love. We've been told that love is self-sacrifice, that it means giving endlessly, forgiving endlessly, erasing endlessly. But love, in its truest form, is presence. To love deeply is to show up fully, not as a fragment, not as a mirror to someone else's expectations, but as a whole being. You cannot truly love others from absence. You can only love them from fullness. Taking up space, then, is an act of love, not just for yourself, but for everyone who benefits from your authenticity. When you allow yourself to exist freely, you unconsciously grant others the same permission. Your expansion becomes a mirror. Your courage becomes an invitation. Your truth becomes a quiet revolution. And perhaps that's what the world truly needs. Not more people who play small to be accepted, but people who live truthfully enough to remind others what being alive looks like. So let me ask you this. When was the last time you took up space without apology? When was the last time you allowed yourself to be loud, passionate, or opinionated, without softening it to make others comfortable? When was the last time you said, "This is who I am," and meant it? If you can't remember, that's okay. Most people can't. Because the world doesn't teach us how to take up space. It teaches us how to disappear beautifully. It rewards our silence, not our authenticity. Our compliance, not our courage. But you don't have to keep living like that. You can decide right now that your existence is not something to apologize for, that your truth doesn't need permission, that your voice deserves to be heard, that you in your entirety are not too much. You're exactly enough. Taking up space doesn't mean becoming louder than others. It means becoming as large as your truth allows you to be. It means allowing your presence to take its natural shape. Your ideas, your art, your boundaries, your silence, all of it. It means walking into a room and not asking for permission to exist. It means looking in the mirror and saying, I am not a burden. I am a force. There will be guilt at first. You'll feel selfish. You'll question yourself. You'll worry you're changing too much. That's okay. Growth always feels like guilt in the beginning. But one day you'll wake up, breathe deeply, and realize that you no longer flinch at your own reflection. You no longer apologize for your energy. You no longer shrink to make others comfortable. And in that moment, you'll understand you never needed to earn your space. You just needed to claim it. That is the quiet revolution. That is the act of self-respect. That is the beginning of your true life. So, if this message spoke to you, if you've ever felt like you were too much or not enough or invisible in your own story, I want you to remember this. You are allowed to take up space. Not because you've achieved something, not because you've proven your worth, but because you exist. The world doesn't need your guilt. It needs your presence. It needs your truth. It needs your unapologetic becoming. Because every time one person stops shrinking, humanity expands just a little bit more. If this resonated with you, if you felt something stir inside you while listening, hit the like button, share this video with someone who needs to hear it, and subscribe to this channel for more reflections like this, where philosophy meets self-discovery and thought becomes transformation. Remember, you don't take away from others by taking up space. You simply remind them that they can too.